Let's talk about trauma. I am consistently amazed at how little people really understand about this. I've had a group of peers and colleagues actually question my mental health because I expressed to them my stories of trauma. Here's what I went through. Here's how it affected me. So I just realized it's even a bigger part of my mission to help people understand what trauma really is. So we're going to talk a little bit about this today. I have a couple notes that I'm going to refer to keep me focused, so I don't ramble too much. But where I want to start is, so there's different types of trauma. There's developmental trauma, complex trauma. An abusive relationship can be complex trauma. Being neglected as a child can be developmental trauma. There can be singular event trauma. PTSD can be caused by a singular event, a car accident, right? But being in an abusive relationship or a relationship with, like, say, an alcoholic, it can be repeated trauma, because somebody maybe that abuses you time and time again. It compiles, it has this accumulative effect, right? So trauma can rock the core of your entire being. Physically, it can rock you. Mentally, it can rock you, and energetically and spiritually. Now, the energetic aspect of this that has to do with our ki and our meridians and our body and our energy field and all of the things that, even though we believe in Wi-Fi, for some reason we have a hard time believing that we create energy. But science is starting to prove this. Thank God. Because I've been an energy worker for a long time, and people just don't understand it, but we believe in Wi-Fi. So anyways, trauma can create a before and an after in your life, potentially altering your entire life, like a cancer diagnosis will, or a divorce, or the death of a loved one. It can also shift your entire personality and your entire identity, right? Your personal identity, all the goals that you thought that you had in your life. Trauma can put an end to these things. Now, people who haven't been through big T trauma might not understand this. So for you guys, like so many people that I talk to that want to judge other people for their mindset when they're healing from something major that they don't understand, just give people grace, room to breathe, and room to be. How hard is it? It's pretty easy, right? Just give people the room to be what they need to be in the moment that they need that moment. So the trauma doesn't end when the event ends. And this is where it gets a little interesting. Trauma and stress are somatic. So they have the impact, like I said, physiological impact in our body, which may remain embedded in the nervous system in a way that science cannot yet prove, putting us into a space of being silently on guard or even reliving the moment. We might have a heightened state of fight or flight response, stress response. Time alone does not heal this unseen wound, but time is often a gift that gives you enough distance and breathing room to feel safe enough in your world to take stock of the inner damage that the trauma itself created. Sometimes you just need enough time to be able to sit with your feelings, your uncomfortable feelings, and look around and go, okay, it's not happening anymore. I'm safe to explore these feelings. There is no clear and present danger. That's where the healing can begin. The traumatic event can be imprinted in the brain. It can be easily triggered until it's felt and expressed fully. A trigger can be some kind of external reminder, a song, a scent, a phrase. Somebody says something that reminds you of something that happened, or somebody has the same kind of energetic signature as somebody who's maybe caused you trauma in your past, or a visual reminder, a certain colored car or something like that. And these kind of things make somebody feel like, or can make somebody feel like the world around them is unsafe. and it's not safe for them to let their guard down, and it's not safe for them to explore their feelings. And that's where time does not heal all wounds. Because if people are seeing everything as a reminder, then they might not feel safe. Decades can go by, a life can go by where somebody just still doesn't feel safe. Think about a rescue dog, like a pit bull that was used for fighting. Will always kind of have that like reaction to what it thinks might be danger. And you can't talk to the dog, so you can't reason with them, right? And the parts of trauma where we hold and store it in our body, sometimes you can't reason with that either. That's why it's so important for you to understand how to give it space. Judgment is never the right call. Judgment comes from it's just a really old, unfortunate way of viewing the world. Or maybe people who judge other people are they're on guard. And they're like, are you a trigger? Are you a trigger? And they don't realize they have that fear yet. They haven't addressed their own fears and insecurities about their world. So the trigger itself can activate the survival-based response where the emotional limbic brain takes control. Our thoughts can quickly become feelings as they turn into emotions. Emotion, the word emotion means energy in motion. We may feel like we're in danger. Our muscles and tissues might remain in constant contraction in case we need to flee, right? Fight or flight. We could experience an elevated heart rate, sweaty palms, quick breathing, and fast talking. Those are all outer signs of this inner turmoil. And if you're trying to support somebody through a trauma response, these are things that you can recognize with somebody. Even just talking fast, like I'm trying to get through this recording without rambling, because it's something that's very close to me. I've had multiple traumas, childhood and developmental traumas, as well as medical trauma, as well as, yeah, it's just, there's been a few different things that have happened in my life that have left their mark on my feeling of safety in the world. Lots of us have had that. It's a pretty common thing. So it's important for us to understand what's going on. Watch out for these external symptoms that I'm talking about. The quick breathing and fast talking that's usually where somebody goes to when they don't feel safe in their body, where a deep breath invites them to drop down into the center of their body where their feelings are. But fast talking and shallow breathing keep them up here in the details where they don't have to be with those deeper feelings that they don't feel safe with. Triggers can be quite uncomfortable in the moment, but are often the survivor's way out, the path to healing. We become so adept at avoiding triggers, some of us, that we circle around our healing process, playing an avoidance game with ourselves until we feel strong enough to face those feelings head on, or sick enough of the game to exit them, where we can recognize, man, I'm in a loop. Like, how do I get out of here? Like, what am I not seeing? That's when we're looking for a way off of the merry-go-round so that we can kind of gain more of a better perspective of things. When you're inside the picture, a friend of mine told me once, when you're inside the picture, inside the frame, you can't see the picture. So if you get off the merry-go-round, your friends are all out there and they're watching what's going on and they can see the thing that you're not seeing. You can't see it when you're on the merry-go-round because you're on the merry-go-round. Have you been on a merry-go-round? The music and the lights are flashing, and every second you have a different scenery around you. But when you're off the merry-go-round looking on it, you're like, oh, it's just going in circles. So when we start looking for that exit where we can step off and be like, help me catch a different perspective of this, because the way I'm seeing the world right now is just a little bit overwhelming. The scenery keeps changing, and there's lights and there's music and there's sounds, and the horses are going up and down, and it's hard to see straight when your world isn't straight. So healers believe often that the trigger is the path to healing. based on its ability to show the survivor that that external event still has control over them, or that there's still somebody else looking in, can show you, here's what's going on in your picture. So you can look at it from a different perspective, and then you can say, oh, that makes sense. I didn't see that before, right? The trigger can show a survivor where the event still has control over them, where they are in a pattern, an avoidance pattern, or pushing people away, or isolating, or addiction, or any number of escape routes that they might utilize to feel that they're in some kind of control of their life as they're still trying to process the trauma that happened to them. Creates the opportunity for the person to take a few deep breaths, look around for danger, and when they don't see any, then they can start to reprogram the body to recognize safety instead of recognizing stress. The nervous system responds to sensations, soft sounds, deep breaths, a calm touch, or even just being validated in their feelings. Like, yeah, that fucking happened and that fucking sucked. That person can feel like, oh, I wasn't crazy. I'm not crazy. They can start to reprogram their body to recognize safety instead of stress, like I said. So there's a few different ways that the person, like in the moment when they're feeling a trigger, like I said, deep breaths, calm touch, hugging yourself. There's emotional freedom techniques, tapping, where you can say, I am safe, nothing is going to hurt me. And that helps connect the body with the mind so that your physiological state can start to respond to, like, if you were in danger, you wouldn't be tapping yourself like this so softly. So your body can start to recognize, like, okay, I am safe. It is okay to feel these feelings. And then afterwards, when they don't feel in that heightened state of a trigger, then they can start getting into habit pattern of seeking gentle massage therapy, lymphatic drainage for cancer survivors. Craniosacral adjustment is great because a lot of this tension is stored in our cranium at the base of our brain, at our brain stem, where our nervous system all comes up into one place, into your skull and your brain. Your nervous system comes out of there. That's where all the key energy fields, meridians, the ability to feel hard or soft touch all comes out of this area. And when we go through trauma, often we kind of have this tension. Like I said, we can carry it for years. And so craniosacral adjustment can be a really soft and gentle way to relax everything in the body. Because like I said, the body knows that if it was in danger, those things wouldn't be happening. Sound baths are great, letting a new frequency wash over you. There's all kinds of little different healing modalities. Reiki, they're endless, right? So healing happens in the moment, though, moment after moment after moment, discharging the heightened stress of those trigger moments until the emotional charge of the fear is dissipated enough for the survivor to feel like they're in control of their life at all times. So when you have the trigger and you get into the heightened emotional state or physical or whatever it is, someone healing from a broken arm might flinch for a long time to come, way past when the arm is healed. It's just like a natural response to protect yourself while you're healing. Is beautiful and brilliant, as a matter of fact. So it's those moments that are when healing happens. That's when healing can occur. Facing that fear, facing that feeling, whatever the trigger triggered, whatever came up for you in that moment. This song makes me think of this, or you hear a car crashes, a little fender bender, but all of a sudden you're thrown back into that spot where your impact of your own car accident happened, right? You know, those moments are when you can bring this softness and these feelings of safety into your body, in those moments where you can tell yourself, I'm safe right here. I can let my guard down. Those are the moments when you regain control enough where healing can take place, where you can return your body to a space of homeostasis, where you can come back to your neutral, find a soft neutral. Healing can take a lovely balance of mental and emotional tools. What I just described, having in those moments, that's mental and emotional tools. I'm safe right now. It's not happening. Like my car didn't get crashed into. I just heard a noise. I can only imagine what survivors of war have gone through and how much that stays in their body. So those tools that help you address the feelings and fear in the moment, and then combined with energetic and somatic work, energy work, body work, to retrain the nervous system. And then there might also be spiritual aspects to rebuild trust in the idea that the world is a safe place to be. That is one thing, this loss of innocence. I used to describe it a lot as, I'm like, there's a loss of innocence here. But that innocence is just feeling like the world is safe. And then you go through trauma and you start second guessing that. Is the world safe? Are these people safe? I hear them talking about this other person. Are they talking about me? That's not safety. That's not emotional safety. Um, Anything, the hospital. I had a friend come to me with, just for example, a girlfriend who really wanted to support me through my mastectomy. She went through breast cancer. I did not. I had a preventative mastectomy with a BRCA diagnosis. And she came with me to one of my appointments, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I'll be there for you," because she knew my mom had passed, and we just developed this really lovely friendship. And she was sitting there with me, and it took a little bit longer. She just looked at me and said, "Honey, I need to go right now. Can you take a cab home?" I said, "Yeah, 100%. What's going on? Do you want to talk about it or later?" And she goes, "I can't be here right now." She goes, "I just realized all those feelings that I thought I had dealt with just flooded back over me. And it's just sitting in this waiting room thinking about, where was my husband when I was sitting in here waiting for my diagnosis? How did I feel when they called me in?" She's like, "All of these things are flooding back over me right now. And I just can't be here with you right now. I'm so sorry." I said, "You have no reason to be sorry. Thank you for your honesty, and thank you for feeling safe enough with me to share that with me. And yeah, I'll be fine on my own." Because I wasn't dealing with a breast cancer diagnosis, and I didn't have a husband and kid like she did. Like, she had a completely different experience of that waiting time in that hospital room than I did. And even though my mom was gone and I don't have siblings, um, I was in a space where I could handle that on my own. So um, I made sure that she knew that she felt safe to honor those feelings, that I had no kind of ill will towards her at all, nothing. I just full understanding, even if I didn't understand, because I am not in her shoes, just full like, "Yes, please, you do what you need to do, and we'll talk when you're ready." All of these things have to come together in those moments in order for true feelings of safety and healing to take place. Recognize that if a person is still remaining on that avoidant Ferris wheel, which is, this is not derogatory in any way, trauma is terrifying to face. The stuff that you've been through can be terrifying to face. Those feelings can be so overwhelming, especially if you have feelings of loss connected with them and you really don't feel like you have anywhere to turn or anyone to support you. You feel alone. It makes everything just a little bit harder, right? Um, but the person who is not able to step off of that Ferris wheel, or that merry-go-round, it just won't stop spinning fast enough for them to take a safe step off. Unfortunately, they can create unconsciously enough stress and tension and energetic blocks in their body to present an illness or a dis-ease expression. So dis-ease, like feelings of unease. That's what I believe the root cause of the word disease to be. as these feelings of unease and like we're out of homeostasis. We can't find our soft neutral. Staying in a heightened state, fight or flight response, an activated amygdala. I can't believe I blank on words sometimes. Yeah, it'll come back to me. Can cause disease. Your body doesn't know what to do. And so it does what it knows how to do. And that could be any number of physical responses to this heightened physiological state. So that's why people who've been through trauma appear so strong to others. They had to learn to adapt to unseen and unrecognizable fears and overcome those fears minute by minute, building that resilience, grit, fortitude that most people may never understand. If you have to spend years of facing triggers and overcoming them moment by moment, because there's still an energetic charge there, there's still a fear response or a flight response. Yeah, your body's going to express it somehow. So now that you understand a little bit more about how trauma can be ongoing, if you're a tattoo artist, if your client has a trigger or a trauma response while getting tattooed, now that you understand a little bit more about it, immediately stop tattooing and remove the threat, the idea of that threat. Put your machine down immediately. Don't talk through it. Even if they tell you to, oh, I'm fine, keep going. No, no. I'm going to honor this for a second because you have an opportunity to help them rewire their nervous system in that moment. You have the opportunity to let them know that the world is safe right now. Say it to them. You're safe. It's okay. You're safe with me. I'll never judge you. I'm here for you. What do you need to do? You want to take a couple deep breaths? Guiding somebody through some box breathing can give them a tool that they can use when they're, say, in traffic and they get triggered. They're sitting in their car. Anybody can do some deep breathing in any moment. We have control over that. That could be a very important, it was a very important tool for me just to take a breath and remind my body I'm safe. It's okay. It's not happening right now. All is well. All is well. So do that for them. Lead them into that. You might be the first person who helped them to see that in that moment, even though they're having an uncomfortable trigger response, that everything is safe right then. And other than that, there might be an energetic shift. You'll know when it's safe to go back to tattooing. Ask them, maybe take a little break, give them like a candy to bring them back into their body, or a washroom break or some water, just something kind of grounding, putting something in our mouth and digesting it. Because if you're on the run from a threat, you're not eating, right? So that'll remind the body like everything is safe, it's okay. So give them a little candy or some water. And always have some recommendations on hand. So there are a lot of practitioners out there that are offering modalities and these different kinds of healing modalities. After I lost my family, I went into some, this is a long time ago, about 15 years ago now. I decided I'm going to invest some money into a really great psychologist, and this lady came highly recommended, and she just happened to look like an exact mixture between my mom and my grandma. She had this kind of blonde, heavy set kind of look to her that just like physically I felt safe with. So that was awesome. And she did EMDR with me, which is an eye movement detection thing. And she just helped me stay in a few memories that I would have rather mentally escaped from, and then change my perspective of them in those moments. And she gave me the tools to recognize those moments and do that for myself. And that helped me feel in control enough that when stuff came up, I'm like, no, I can deal with this. I got the tools. I got the right tools that I need. And the craniosacral, like I said, somatic movement, massage, lymphatic massage is great for cancer survivors, like I said. Um, there's Reiki is Reiki is really safe, you know, it's just energy work. I don't touch people when I do Reiki on them. I hold my hands over them, and they often tell me that they feel the heat from my hands, which is funny to me because my hands always feel cool when I'm doing Reiki. If I'm over something, if I'm holding my hands over a part of somebody where they have scar tissue, or if they have any tension in their body, my hands start to feel cool, and they're like, oh, I felt the warmth. I'm like, that's interesting, because you must have been pulling it out of me because your body needed that little bit of energy, and we felt it by temperature, which is interesting. So there's a bunch of different modalities. Being tattoo artists, like I'm a Reiki master. I have been for almost 15 years. But I took training. I invested in that training. I'm an enlifted coach, which is around story work, and I invested in that training. I put that time into myself. And so if you haven't, right, then you can't really call yourself a healer. Like as a tattoo artist, if you haven't invested in embodying those healing modalities, then don't call yourself a healing tattoo artist. But either way, if you're working on people with scar tissue, trauma of any kind, go into your community and meet some people, make friends with like a massage therapist, a therapist. Go, like, all of us should go to therapy at some point in our lives, just to get a handle on, like, I have this doubt or insecurity, or I hate people because they do this or whatever. It just gives us a knowing of ourselves, right? And I don't remember who said an unexplored life is not a life worth living. Like, just exploring ourselves and know thyself just gives you such a stronger place to support others. Because if they're going through something, then you'll have the capacity. Here's what I'm getting at. If somebody is triggered around you, the more that you can know yourself and be centered in yourself and go through your own healing processes, even if you were just ignored by your dad once when you were a kid and you wanted to play ball, and that memory stuck with you, heal it, so you don't have that energy anymore that's not ever going to drive the bus again, so that you can be centered enough in yourself that if somebody around you experiences a trigger, you don't experience your own trigger. You're not triggered by their trigger, that you can just sit with them, recognize that they're having a little experience, and that you can just hold space, validate, breathe, remind them that they're safe. You can be that one safe space, and let them go through that, and let them come out the other side of it, knowing that you will never judge them negatively, that you're not going to doubt their mental health or anything like that. I don't know, when did it become fun to judge people's mental health? Wasn't it just a few years ago everybody was getting the semicolons to honor that people have mental health? And now, since then, we've all gone through collective trauma together. COVID was a trauma that all of us experienced in varying degrees. If you had a job and you had your routine and your kids and whatever, your home, then it might not have affected you as much. But for me, I was traveling the world, and it affected me greatly. Plus, I lost my breast implants just 6 weeks before we went into COVID. I was still healing wounds, external wounds, when I was stuck in Amsterdam for 3 months, like with strangers that were some of the coolest people I've ever met. But still, That's a trauma. Some people got stuck. I know one woman, her husband got stuck in Hong Kong for 5 months. They had a trauma that they might not even see as a trauma. That might be a little T trauma for some people or a big T trauma for other people, right? So anyways, this is something that most of us do share and understand, and we have to learn how to create space for others to have their processes and their feelings, especially when it comes to the tattoo shop, especially when you're working on damaged skin. I'm going to share one, for example, before I let you go from this video, so you guys understand the kind of thing that can happen. I started tattooing scars back in 1999, and when I tattooed scars, I would cover them up, right? That was my whole thing, was covering them up, trying to figure out the way to do a technically clean and sound tattoo in damaged tissue that would heal and stay, that it would retain in any type of scars. So that took a lot of nobody was teaching this stuff back then. So it was all trial and error. And even talking to other tattoo artists, they're like, some people were so intimidated by tattooing scar tissue that they just would say no. And so the world has come a long way. But in those early days, I remember, well, it just made a bigger impact on me in those early days because I was only in my early 20s. And people would just fall apart in the chair. And by that, I just mean like they would have these triggers and emotional responses, and I had no idea what to do. The first time it happened, I wasn't even 24 yet. And I was like, holy crap, this person is like really upset. And I could feel their energy because I could always read energy. And I was like, this is an honest place for them. This feels like it's childhood. I have no idea what to say or do. And it just intimidated me so much that I went to my church that I was attending at the time. And they, by the grace of God, were offering these active listening courses for people that were losing loved ones. It was like a grief thing. So people who had terminally ill family members or loved ones, they were teaching them how to actively listen, even though they were in a trauma response themselves, because they're talking to someone that they're afraid of losing and they're losing them. So how do we still stay centered when we're in that uncomfortable place of this person isn't going to make it, and you're just like, no, this person's not going to make it, and I love them, and we're afraid to lose them, and we get into our own feelings about things. And that class taught me how to stay out of my own feelings about things. It's really hard for people to understand, but I did that in 99. Yeah, 1999. It's like, that was a long time ago. So I had a lot of practice of like trying to like make sure that I was being as supportive as I could, even though I have my own traumas to deal with, and nobody's perfect. None of us are freaking perfect. And so this lady, the story, I'm tattooing this lady and over her C-section scar years ago. And she started having an emotional response, and I read energy. I was tuned into it before she had a physical, like an obvious emotional response. I could feel her body start to move tension. And so I was like, put my machine down. What's going on? Feeling okay? What's going on for you right now? And as soon as I recognized her response, the floodgates opened, because now she is being seen at like a soul level. And so the floodgates opened and she started crying. And I was like, okay, I know exactly what to do here. Here's the tissue. You're safe. Let it out. Let it go. And just trying to be like an affirmative, gentle landing spot for her, no matter what I'm feeling. And because we all have shitty days. And if this happens for us and we're having a really crappy day or a really crappy time in our lives already, it just makes it more challenging for us to do that for other people. We still have to be able to make that separation, right? That's what most people don't understand, I think, is that like some people are able to make that separation, but it is something you have to learn. So anyways, I'm just giving her the space. Now, the other side of this that I know about the body from tattooing scars for so long is that her C-section scar is tied to her womb. The fascia is connected. And now science is showing us how this all works, how all of these things are connected, and how the plasma runs through these channels. And plasma is the fourth state of matter, and it could have the energy of water holds memory, and there's all of these things that seem like magic. They are magical to me because I think the body is amazing. But because we don't quite understand them yet, we're starting to understand them. So I know that this scar that I'm touching, I'm only affecting the outer quarter inch at the most with my tattoo machine, is connected with her womb. Obviously, they cut a baby out of it, and this is the scar left behind. So since that external scar is connected with that internal scar, I had this feeling I could see in my mind's eye that there's more internal scarring than from this pregnancy, an older internal scar that was behind that. I could see a massive scar tissue in my mind's eye, and it just seemed so obvious to me in that moment. So I said to her, and I prepare all my clients. I'm like, look, if we do the Reiki thing, we're opening up each other's energy field, and I might feel something in your energy field. Do I have your permission to share it? If I do, it might sound negative, you know, like if I feel something in your energy field, I'm going to want to bring it up to you, or I wouldn't notice it, right? So do I have your permission to do that? So when I felt this massive scar tissue in her belly, I said to her, or maybe she recognized it in me. Yeah, it's been a few years, but I was just like, oh, do I say something? I think she might have recognized it. Like, she's like, what did you feel? And I said, you lost a baby. And I just came out with it because I already gave her the disclaimer. I said, you lost a baby years ago. I said, you didn't tell anybody. And then she starts crying about that. And that's his own thing, right? But for her to be witnessed by me, who's basically a stranger, there's like a liberation that can occur and the healing that can occur, but it's also intimidating and terrifying to have somebody else know something about you that you haven't told them. And we all feel each other's energy. Someone comes in the room, maybe they just broke up with their boyfriend in the parking lot, or they got cut off in traffic, or they got a big property tax bill or something, come in the room and they're carrying that, and everyone looks at them, and like some people are like, oh, they have a bad vibe. Well, it's not up to you to judge them. You have no idea what was happening 5 minutes ago in their life, right? And that's a mistake we make, but we do feel each other's energy. So I felt hers. I felt that there was a scar tissue, and so I gave her the space to discharge that emotion. That energy and motion was allowed to be felt all the way through and leave the body. And feeling felt all the way through is bliss. Now, remember, you guys, I'm a Reiki master. Like, not everybody, like, be really careful with this stuff. Like, I've made some mistakes too. Nobody is perfect, right? But the whole thing is allowing that feeling, that energy and motion, to discharge. So there's less of an energetic charge around her feelings about her womb space and what trauma may or may not be stored there, what memories may or may not be associated with that C-section scar. I believe I feel like she said that she didn't want to have a C-section, and that was why she wanted to cover up the scar, but I don't remember the details for sure, because when I close space with somebody, I close space with that person. Their feelings are theirs, but I just remember a few things about this because I knew it was just such a great conversation to have with people. And obviously I'm not going to tell you guys her name or anything, so it doesn't betray her in any way. It's respectful. But she was able to recognize what was bothering her, feel it all the way through, let it go, let a degree of it go, even if it's 10% dissipation. And she goes home and journals about it, maybe does more. And at the end, I gave her some homework. So I gave her something to look forward to. So she wasn't just sitting in that feeling of, like, I would have hated for her to leave and be like, oh my God, I just fell apart in front of this freaking tattoo lady. And she probably thinks I'm this or that, which I don't think anything negative about anybody who has a mental expression. I told her to go home. I said, this child wants to be seen and heard. So go home and find a little trinket or something. Give this little soul that maybe came in and retreated, or maybe came in and stayed. Maybe it came back. Maybe it was a pet or another child. Like, who knows how this soul came through, but it did come through when you lost this pregnancy. That came out enough for you to recognize that it was there, and then it retreated, right? So honor that it made an appearance. Find a little trinket, something that reminds you of it, a flower, something, anything, and put it somewhere in your home. Even if you don't have to share this with anybody else in your family. You don't have to share it with your husband. You don't have to do anything. But I think for you to feel at peace, give this soul a space in your home. Make a little picture, whatever it is, draw a little picture, something, find something, put it somewhere. And every once in a while, if you notice it, just have a little moment. Thank you, little soul, for coming into my life. I'm sorry you're not here to be with me right now. Or maybe you are, and whatever it is, however it's going to help her. And that just, it created a bit of closure around that expression, and it gave her an opportunity to honor, release, and then set a new intention for how she's going to honor that going forward. Give her a feeling of control over this thing that she had some whatever guilt or shame or sadness or grief or whatever she was feeling around it. So when you're tattooing someone, now that you see a little bit more of this picture, sorry, I rambled a little bit. We're almost at 45 minutes. Sorry about that. It's a really important lesson, though. I really need you guys to understand how this continues to affect us. So now that you know that it continue to affect your clients in a multitude of different ways, and these little triggers can come out at the worst possible freaking moments. Like, I know I totally got triggered at a tattoo show a couple times. People were sending me screenshots. This lady that I had trained was saying I was mentally unstable because I shared a story of trauma with her. And I was like, oh God, is this how people see it? And like, the people around me didn't know how to hold space for me. So it does come out at the worst possible times sometimes. Sometimes you can't control it. And that's okay though. That's okay. I had to find the strength in myself to hold space for myself, knowing that the people around me had no idea about trauma. So of course they have no capacity to hold space. But now you do. Now you do. You learn a little bit more about trauma. It's going to be a lot easier for you the next time somebody's triggered in any situation, but especially in your tattoo chair. In any situation, somebody gets mad, even if it's somebody, if they're mad at you, you can just hold space for them. Let them express their anger. Listen to them. Hear them out. Don't respond to it. Don't respond to it. It might take years for you. It took me years to learn not to respond to other people's anger, even if it was directed at me. And so I just have the capacity now to hear them out, maybe take some notes, and okay, what do you wish I had done different? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well, this is where I was coming from. So, there might have also been a bit of a misunderstanding if that's needed or whatever. And then to get to the end of that and say, what can we do now? How can we make this beautiful now? Now that we have the space of vulnerability that we've shared together, no matter how well we know each other, we were just in a very vulnerable space, and beauty comes through vulnerability. And how can we make this beautiful? And take every opportunity that you can to do that for each other. And this is why I always say, we're all just walking each other home, aren't we?